Little did he know what he's jumping into. It ended up being a 3.5 hours long game. I genuinely do not know how the main stream would have shaped out, or even the B stream, frankly, if we had that game on stream.
Yeah, you just got to reset. You just got to walk back to the drawing board after a game like that. But speaking of the drawing board, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for these two players to start drawing upon their boards because the game is just beginning. Welcome to game number 1, the rematch, the redo. 3DBs crashed out on the first one at about the 7-minute mark. So we're going to redo things over here. I don't know if these two players are going to be sticking to the rules that the last two players who disconnected today fought with. But we may see something similar. We may see something different. Who knows exactly how it goes. But DeMu is going to be opening up the exact same way that he did in the last game. And B is going to be under early pressure here from the Englishman.
I love this opening with the English against the French. It has become one of the standard openings against the French. And it works really well because you can almost always push away the villagers from a gold mine. And once that happens, you can delay the first knight coming out or straight up deny it for quite a time. And that's immensely valuable for the English, especially given how the map looks like for DeMu, very much of an open front for him. He would love to be able to at least wall a little bit, just to limit the angles from which those knights can arrive.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a consideration to make. And you can see that he'll have the access, he'll have the ability to wall in the back, which always makes it a bit more easy to control the narrative. But you definitely on the money. It's frustrating when you've got these sort of back wood lines like this because you're just so open towards the front. Like you would much prefer this one where it's like you're open towards the back, but the front is very closed off, right? Like B's got a really nice spawn here, but I guess he's going to be on the aggressive, right? So it's one of those things.
Now for B, he has gotten up to 203 gold only, so being able to queue up a knight upon hitting Feudal Age is nowhere close to reality. Which is as good as it gets, actually, for DeMu. He's going to deny the gold, and this pretty much guarantees that B, if he wants to get any kind of cavalry going, it has to be horsemen.
I think at the same time, it's one of those situations where it makes sense, or not makes sense, but you know, in the previous game he'd collected 80 gold, whereas in this game he's only got that extra 3. So it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing in that, you know, it's those extra resources in the pocket now that are going to be elsewhere. So he's going to be able to utilize those resources. So I think this is overall a positive for B. It means his macro is going to be a lot more streamlined now. But we do see the age ups coming through. School of Cavalry going to be the first landmark. No real surprise there. And over for DeMu, he's about to click up on his one as well. Expect to see the Council Hall thrown down pretty soon here. Indeed, the Council Hall goes down with just a handful of villagers on it for the moment. Only the 3 to show. We'll see if those numbers start to ramp up.
And it's going to be a second TC build here for DeMu. Interesting idea because you feel like there could have been a lot of opportunities to deny resources from B. He's got both of his forests on the front, all 3 gold mines clumped together, and English are really good at exploiting those weak resource spawns. So in DeMu's position, it could have been realistic to play into spearmen, play into longbows, and try to deny those resources. He's going to opt to do something different. Instead, he's playing into 2 TCs. Now, he denied the first knight coming out, which means that those villagers aren't really on danger on the stone right now. But he still needs to be cautious because horsemen take way less time to train than knights do. So B could show up with like 2 or 3 horsemen before he has enough stone, especially because I think he only has 3 or 4 wheels on the stone right now.
Yeah, you can see now that that horseman is going to come out. He should be able to deal with this man-at-arm relatively effectively. You can see he's trying to pull the aggro out here, but he doesn't really want to commit. At the same time, DeMu is going to be going for this second town center play, which is just such a classic play from the English. We've seen them really come into this style quite a bit. Obviously, the English, wonderful defenders. They've got so many advantages when it comes to defending. Got that extra bonus damage from the arrows from the town center. They've got the extra attack speed on all of the ranged units. On top of that, they've also got the villagers with their short bows that just deal extra damage against any raiding units. So there's a lot of defensive bonuses. On top of that, they've also got access to the Council Hall and the long-range longbows. There's just so many reasons why going for that second TC makes sense as the English, instead of going for that early aggression that we used to see quite a bit. You know, remember Season 1, Season 2, Season 3?
Yep.
It was all about those English pushes that we saw. Not anymore.
Yeah, for a long, long time, English was that one-trick pony save of spearman longbows, and it really started to elevate when it comes to the win rate and when it comes to the viability in pro games, when players started using the second TC builds, the very heavy farming builds back then. And once those things became a reality, English became one of the powerhouse civilizations of the competitive gaming. Now, it is a bit on a back foot compared to some other civilizations. Some of the other civs are right now very strong compared to the English, but it's still a civilization that can compete very well in the eco department with civs like the French, especially if you don't lose villagers to horsemen on your stone mine.
Yeah, especially if you don't lose villagers to horsemen on your stone mine. So, yeah, well played there by B, picking up a couple of, or at least a single villager kill. But enough resources has been gathered now for DeMu, who's going to be able to afford that second town center, and looking to throw it down about the 6-minute mark. So not a bad timing here. Throws it down on the gold, adjacent to the wood line as well. What a great spot this is. He's also got enough space there for the mill in between those two. So this is just where like the base building is absolutely on point for DeMu. Once again, we saw earlier in the day, he was just playing out of his mind, and it seems like he's really improved recently.
He has had a really good day so far, and frankly, as we discussed before the crash happened, if DeMu didn't beat Marine Lord, which was a huge upset given how well Marine Lord has played throughout the tournament, this would have been the decider game between the two players, with only one of them having the chance to make the playoffs. With DeMu taking down Marine Lord, he secured his spot in the playoffs, and he can play in this set with a lot less pressure than what he would have had to play had he not beaten Marine Lord.
I'm sorry to respond, because I'm just thinking right now. I'm like, it's actually so smart what DeMu is doing. Okay, think about it from this perspective. Okay, DeMu denies the gold from B. He can't make knights, and because he can't make knights, he can't dive the town centers. It's because he can't dive the town centers. He has such a harder time to kill the villagers. It's so smart. It's just a simple adaptation, right? Like normally you see like the early men at arms into, you know, a couple of longbows, that sort of thing. But he goes the men at arms into the second town center. It just makes so much sense. Sorry, I just had that thought, and
Yeah,
it
it's a
completely
great point,
engulfed my
actually.
mind. I was just like, oh my god, this is such a smart move from DeMu. I'm becoming a DeMu fanboy, I gotta say.
And it lines up so well with the English bonuses as well. You remember, English town centers are a lot more powerful than normal TCs. So as you said, if there is one civ against which you don't want to dive the TCs, especially not with light cavalry like horsemen, it's the English.
Exactly.
So you remove the most heavily armored component of the French army initially, and it makes it next to impossible for B to do any damage to your eco, and it allows DeMu to play with a lot of safety, minimal commitment to army, and it also allows him to start setting up a farming eco quite early. You see, he's already started dropping farms. He is nice, comfy, and cozy back at home. B's response, in return, will be a second TC though, so he will keep pace. In fact, he will eventually overtake DeMu on the villager department.
Yeah, I'm curious where DeMu goes from here, though. Does he look to just go straight into castle? I think that could be an option for him. I mean, realistically, you're not dealing with as many knights as what you could be. And what are you got to be scared of? Like, realistically, like, what's a couple of horsemen going to do to you if you're castle age with a white tower? So
Yeah.
that could be an option for him. We'll see how B plays it. And when I see all these farms going down, I think more and more about, look at the gold. Oh, yeah, look at the Vills on gold. He's going castle age. This is the play 100%. I'm loving this from DeMu so far. Like, this is just, I tell you what, man, we're seeing a masterclass out of him today. He is looking really good.
Yeah, he's looking really good, and I feel like if he's going into castle age at this pace, it could easily end up being the white tower and just saying, look, I'm going to start pumping out my own knights, and I will actually beat you in the knight race. I'll be the aggressor, which is not something that you often say, especially when it comes to a cavalry versus cavalry matchup with French versus English.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One thing to note is that B's already picked up chivalry, an expensive upgrade, despite having, at the time, no knights. He's got his first knight out now, but it's one of those things where it's like you've spent resources on an upgrade that doesn't provide you any value immediately, and you kind of need value right now because, well, if you didn't get the memo, DeMu's got a lot of vills on gold for the moment. Now, it doesn't look like the... Have we got the castle age? Is the castle age through at this point, or not? Where... I feel like the resources should be somewhere for DeMu. Has he clicked up to castle age, or am I going
Not at
crazy?
all. He's nowhere close. I think he's just converting all the food into vills right now, and he's kind of banking up a lot of wood because he needs that farm production. So right now he's kind of in the middle of that farm transition. You see his food per minute is just now starting to climb. Went from about 550 to 720. So I think in a couple of minutes we will see that castle age come in.
Yeah, okay, interesting, yeah. He's going really big on these farms considering he's on 2TC. This is a lot of farms. Normally the 16 farms should be enough to sustain you until you hit that third age, but he's going quite early. But I guess he's playing a little bit more of a heavy feudal side of this. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks to go into men-at-arms, but then you're kind of playing this dangerous game where playing men-at-arms against the French and you don't have crossbows is like you're kind of asking for it, aren't you?
It's also a matter of timing. Right now, he's not being aggressed, so he can easily set up a farming eco. What is B doing behind this? He's taking the hunt, he's taking the berries. So when we really turn the gears on, when DeMu really starts pushing, that will be the time where B is going to be in the middle of a farm transition and his food eco is going to be feeble. So this is going to culminate in a bit of a timing advantage for DeMu as well. You see, I think he's just now going to start working his way towards castle. Might actually end up being beaten by B, but I don't think that's worrisome for DeMu just yet.
Yeah, the numbers are continuing to build here. You can see him moving into longbow spear. Villager's going to fall back into the town center. Remember, he's got all of those defensive bonuses. You know, it's that classic case of push if you dare against an English player. There are so many defensive bonuses in here. You'd be an absolute maniac to go into that. And B does the right thing. He falls back. But we do see on the other side of the map, it's going to be the Royal Institute that B looks to throw down here. I'm curious what his upgrade angle is going to be, but oh my gosh, look at that. The scout with 1 health spots the Royal Institute, and he says, oh, that's what you're doing. But scout probably going to lose its life very shortly, but very, very fortunate scouting.
Yeah, that's great value for DeMu. Obviously would have loved to keep that scout alive, but that scout lived just long enough to see that there is a landmark coming up. And you see DeMu is pushing out immediately. He saw the landmark and says, look, I need to fight this before your upgrades come in, especially because DeMu is going to be about 30 seconds to a minute behind in castle age timing. Big question right now, is he going for the King's Palace? Is he going to play into that longer style of a game? Is he going to try and... I think right now you could justify either landmark. It's a matter of how greedy do you want to play this.
Yeah, DeMu kind of strikes me as the guy who still hasn't been sold on the White Tower, but I guess I'm wrong on that front. He has been converted, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that, the White Tower coming down. He's expanding down towards his bottom side, but dangerous position, and it does get scouted out. B going to be looking to come through. He's still yet to get the veterancy upgrades on these units. He's got to begin moving forward with the spears. Manages to take out a couple of villagers. Gets them as the White Tower is slowly but steadily coming up. As long as he's able to keep these units back, he should be fine as long as that White Tower comes up, and indeed, the White Tower will come up, but not without a few losses. 25 villagers constructing that White Tower, and it does eventually get up here a little bit short of 14 minutes.
Yeah, it got scary for a brief moment for DeMu, but minimal casualties. B only has 3 villagers killed throughout the entire feudal age, and now he's going to be up to castle age just like B. Now B is already coming in with royal bloodlines. He's got 8 knights with 3 more in the queue. Has a monastery as well, actually double monasteries. So he's going to work his way towards the relics. He's using the map control to get the boars as well. So what we're seeing from B is responding to DeMu's defensive and kind of compact base layout. He's going to use that map control he has to secure the relics, to get the boars, and just turn that into a massive flood of fully upgraded knights.
Yeah, this is gonna get worse before it gets better for DeMu. Now, he's got a couple of things that are going for him, right? Like, he's got really good production at the moment. So if he puts the pedal to the metal and just goes ham on production, he should be okay for the interim. But he is getting outscaled by B. That's another thing to note. And the longer this game goes, even though it does get better for the English, at the end of the game, in the post-Imperial ages, it doesn't. So Looks like the longbows are going to be in a little bit of trouble. The surround coming through. He's already got that royal bloodline upgrade. He needs to start pumping units non-stop here. He needs spears coming out of the Raxes. We need crossbows coming out of the council hall, and we need to see that white tower just spamming out arrows towards his position. It's a little bit of a no man's land at the moment where they're fighting him, but it looks like the numbers are starting to dwindle here for the cavalry. So far, taking out 9 of the villagers inside the base. He's just going to continue pushing that difference between them. More of the cavalry going to be coming through. Look at the knight numbers now for B. This is starting to get in that trouble zone for DeMu, but fortunately the crossbow numbers have begun building. He's at 8 crossbows at the moment, and with that, looks like DeMu will defend. He's down about 18 villagers. He lost 13 so far throughout this game. Huge difference between these two. How does he make up that difference? He's going for +2 upgrades now, Lidakor. But I can't help but feel he's going to need more than this if he wants to come back into the economy.
Especially because, look at that, B's got 3 relics coming home. He already has 1 garrison. Then you mentioned this. He lost quite a few knights diving that. He already had a small villager lead thanks to the French DCs. But he picked off just enough villagers to really carve out a meaningful villager difference. Now it's a 20 villas difference. Sure enough, DeMu does have the power of the English farming now in Castle Age. He is going to have a network of citadels to buff that army. In fact, he's got the numbers advantage as well. But look at what B is up to. He's got all the map control to secure the hunt. He's got the relics. And now he's getting enlistment incentives, which also implies that he already has a keep to just buff the stables with. And we will see a massive escalation of those knight numbers very soon.
Yeah, a lot of people forget about that bonus that the French have got. It's not a hidden bonus by any means, but it's definitely an underused one. And that's the reduction in cost for those units, the stable units, as well as the archery range units, when they're affected by the influence of a keep. Now, of course, B does indeed have that keep. It's going to be reducing, I think it's down from 25% down to 30% reduction with enlistment incentives.
Yeah, it's a pretty considerable buff, especially on the food department. B is fine on the gold, but when you look at the food, you see it goes from 140 to 105 food. For a player that's in the middle of a farm transition, like B, you see he's got 900 food per minute compared to 1300 gold. Having that discount on the food is a massive buff. It allows you to have a much more consistent production of knights initially. And of course, in the long run, the discount both in terms of gold and food will kick in. But initially, it's actually more about the food than the gold.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how that works. You know, early on, as you mentioned, it's the food that counts, and later on, it's the gold that counts. But yeah, B's position is looking increasingly good. I think the big part is that he's killed quite a bit of villagers in here, and that DeMu was, I wouldn't say a little bit slow out of the gate, but he definitely got caught off guard by that push that came through from B with the knights. B
actually has all 3 sacred sites as well. Most of his gold income is now passive. He's got 3 sacred sites, he's got 5 relics to work with. Now he's getting Gambisons. I feel like the issue here for DeMu is just playing way too passive. He's safe inside his base, which is nice and everything, but B is exploiting that so well. He's got the sacred sites. You see down south, he's actually taking away the large gold mine that's closer to DeMu. And now it looks like the knights are moving in as well.
Now, he's got a lot of crossbows here, but not a lot of spears. If he loses this spear front, he's going to have a significant amount of trouble here against these French knights. This is where there's a big part of me that just says DeMu needs to get a mangonel out ASAP and just spam out spears. If he doesn't spam out spears like crazy, he will die to those knights. Doesn't matter if you got 33 crossbows. What matters is you don't have those spears, and you need that spear coverage, because that's going to stop the charges, that's going to stop the extra damage, and most importantly, it's going to stop that charge damage from coming in. But speaking of charges, look at these guys charging in onto the back line right now as the knights are looking to try and take out some more villagers. He's lost 13 already this game. Let's see if the numbers begin to rise. As on the south side of the battle, the spears are barely there to protect against that knight, but he continues to dwindle down these forces. Indeed, 6 villagers lost so far. 7 villagers almost going to be going down. You can see the spears come down to collect this little bit of a raid, and at the same time, B is going to be forced back on the front over towards that east side. More villagers going to be going down, 21 in total, and the villager count extends the lead to 30 for B.
Yeah, that's a lot of villagers, and don't forget, there is also the passive resource income for B. And he's got the Sacred Site timer on his side. So every moment that he keeps DeMu in his base is 1 extra second on those Sacred Sites. That Mangonel, I don't know what he's up to, but it's definitely not a great position for it to be. Although, if he gets a shot out, that could be devastating.
Yeah, we can see greased axles coming through as well from a little bit of a meme tech this early on, but you know what? It makes sense, but look at the forces now coming out from DeMu. It's looking pretty fearsome. He may need to think about moving into a Springle, though. I've got no idea how he's going to deal with this Mangonel otherwise. Turns around. The Mangonel's going to be unloading from the top. There's 2 of them now coming in. Watch out, because Randy Orton is here with the RKO, ready to go. Big shots coming in. Nice little dodges from DeMu. He's holding on for dear life at this point, but more Knights continue coming through. Spearman slowly but steadily trickling in. No sign of a Springle, no sign of a Mango of his own. This is a man who is infantry and infantry only. He's looking to dodge, dip, dive, duck, and most importantly, dodge again. Because that is the name of the game. Well, actually, it's Age of Empires 4, but some people call it dodgeball.
B has switched back into a lot of archers, so he dealt with the first wave of the crossbows well. But now with the men-at-arms being mixed in, DeMu is pushing this one back. B has enough stone for a keep in a moment, but he doesn't have the position right now. And it looks like DeMu will start decapping the northern Sacred Site. He will have the momentum to decap the one in the middle. And despite being down by 40 vills, he's the one that's kind of in a better position right now, you feel. He's got crazy momentum here.
Yeah, he's got really good momentum, and I think a large part of this comes just down to the farms, right? Like, English farms are incredible. You don't have to leave the base. There's so many resources that you're just pulling in from this safe food source, and as long as you transition into decent production early enough, you can support a huge amount of units coming out of the gate. And we can see, realistically, the army value is in favor of B, but the numbers are still in favor of DeMu.
It's also the counter potential. You look at the army of DeMu, the reason why B's got a higher army value is because he's got a lot of premium heavy cavalry, but DeMu's got the tools to deal with that. He's got a lot of crossbows and no Mangonels. Actually, B has 2 Mangonels somewhere, but they're not here on the battlefield right now. Also, no network of castles aura just yet for DeMu, so he needs to be cautious about taking the fight.
Yeah, he wants to try and get this up. It's a good little position he's got here. The numbers here are still pretty decent for him. I'd really just love one single Mangonel. Like a single Mangonel, a single Springle just makes DeMu's fight so much easier for him, but needs to keep trickling in those spears at this point. It's so important that he continues bringing these spears forward because, as you can see, he's got quite a bit of trouble with these Knights, but I think he's reached critical mass. Mangonel from the south side coming in off the top rope. Not going to find too much just yet. He's going to roll out from cover, but that big shot comes in. Lands on about 6 or 7 of those archers on the back line. And now a second outpost going to be thrown up here. Springwood coming through. He's got to be careful, making sure he defends it, covering it. Indeed, manages to take it out initially. But these Royal Knights, you got to watch out for them. They do swing a fight very quickly.
They do, but you see army value now equalizing. Knights are disappearing from the playing field. Springwood will focus down the second Mangonel as well. And again, B's army is shrinking rather. And you look at the destroyed value, it's massively in the favor of DeMu. 25,000 resources value destroyed against 15,000. Throughout this game, it looks like he's been taking so much more cost-effective engagements.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And now he is actually adding in that Mangonel as well. This is where it gets quite hard for the French on the defense, because as long as DeMu's got population space to throw down, 5 or 6 battering rams on the front line here, he can really start to pressure. Landmarks are going to be coming up. Obviously, production's going to be coming up as well. And you can see that farm transition coming through for B at the moment. But look at DeMu. He's sitting up on a comfy 1,700, almost 1,800 food a minute. B down, he was down on 1,400. He's up to 1,500 now, but that farm transition's still coming through for him.
Yeah, that's the timing, right?
To come up to it. Yeah.
This is not something that DeMu has to worry about. He's got his farming eco set up. Now, he could be deprived of gold with this keep going up, but as you said, he's got a great position. And B, he's kind of regrouping right now, just now transitioning to farms.
Well, Sacred Sites have been neutralized. He's taken the one in the center. He's also taken that one up towards the north side. The south side still remains contested at the moment, but there's no threat of Sacred victory now, which is a relief. DeMu now going to start moving into Trebs. Keep in mind, Trebs have been nerfed in the most recent patch. I say the most recent patch like it was only yesterday, but obviously it's been some time. But Knight numbers really aren't that high at the moment. He's sitting on 12 knights. Now up to 16, though. In the blink of an eye, he went up by 4. Springle's going to take some shots off the back. Looks like the numbers are starting to build here for B. He's up to 2 Springles now. Manages to trade out 1 for 1, and that Mangonel is still staying alive. More Springs coming out as well to meet them. Keep in mind, he's got the white tower on the backside, so if he wants to pump Springles, he can do it. But the numbers are starting to fall. There's a lack of spear, a distinct lack of spear with this Castle Age push. It's coming through now from DeMu. And he's going to have to fall back on this front because you've got Royal Bloodline Knights to contest with.
Yeah, crossbows also disappeared from this army. There is really not much that... Uh-oh. Vodka's pointing out something extremely important. DeMu wanted to go to Imperial, but he's out of gold because of this keep. So part of the reason why we don't have any reinforcements here is because DeMu wanted an Imperial Age. I wonder if it was with the Berkshire Palace. Maybe he wanted that midfield Berkshire, but that... yeah, there is the villager pole. Never mind, I'm just confusing units right now. That's an infantry, but... yeah, I'm wondering...
It looked like hills, didn't it? The way they were lined up, all there, like, kind of clumped together. Does he just throw his Berkshire on top of this gold? This feels like a really bad Berkshire, though. You want to really make that Berkshire more impactful, don't you?
I feel like the issue for DeMu is that this is the only gold he has. When he gets to Imperial, he's going to have enclosures, of course, on the farms, but that gold income by itself will be insufficient, especially given that he doesn't have a single relic to work with. So, even if he defends this position with a Berkshire, it's going to be insufficient.
All right, well, indeed it is the Berkshire. He's going to be looking to throw it down very close to that main gold that he's got, but this gold probably not going to last him for too much longer. As you mentioned, there are other elements of gold generation for the English. Most notably, he has access to the farm upgrade enclosures, which allow that infinite source of gold, but it has been nerfed. It's not as strong as it once used to be. It's not the Imperial powerhouse it once used to be.
And B's also imping with the College of Artillery.
All right, well, let's see how it plays out, because the numbers are starting to build here. B maxing out at 198 population. Imperial Age comes through. Expect to see your elite upgrades coming in shortly. 5 Springles now out for B. Just making sure the enemy doesn't have access to any kind of siege on the field. No trebuchets, no nothing. Look at that range coming in from the Berkshire. Oh my god, it's disgusting, isn't it? It's one of those things where it's just like, how is this even legal? I guess you got to make it legal like that, otherwise people will just go for the wing guard. It's too good otherwise.
It looks lovely, by the way, like just the fire arrows raining down from that keep, as we do have another keep attempted here by DeMu. It's gonna be a little dicey, but it's a beautiful choke point for DeMu to hold, and B has to fall back out of this one.
Yeah, he's got the battering rams here to try and contest this. I do kind of like his chances on this. I think Lord Doubt does smile upon this keep. It is going to come up, but the question is, how much after it comes up is it going to be dying? Because there's nothing here, and yeah, indeed, he cancels the keep. It makes sense. I don't think there was any way that was coming up, or at least staying up. But Spear's going to be moving forward. They're looking to fight up against the archers. A dangerous move here, especially because... oh my god, that's a lot of vills right there. He is a man who wants to keep, that is for sure.
He wants to secure this southern flank, and he does have momentum for it. A lot of villagers are pulled, and there's not much left over here for B. He does have elite knights in now. He's facing way too many crossbows. A couple of hand cannoneers will be mixed in here by B. But it looks like DeMu will have this position, and he should be able to get a keep up here.
Do we see any elite upgrades coming through for DeMu at the moment, though? I see crossbows, I see normal spears, or rather Castle Age spears. I don't see any elite spears or any elite upgrades coming through just yet, and this is really important. You need these elite upgrades ASAP.
But he's out of gold. He's got 300 gold per minute, and you see, this keep wasn't for protecting this stone. He wanted to get to that large gold to the south, but by the time he gets there, B is going to have it. This is a disaster for DeMu right now. We look at that gold mine out there. B pretty much depleted it, if I'm not mistaken. And DeMu, part of the reason why he cannot afford these upgrades is because he's so low on gold.
All right, well, it's interesting that he's going for the really big upgrades rather than just, like, the elite upgrades. I don't know, I feel like you get a lot more value out of, say, like, elite longbowmen than you get out of incendiary arrows. So I guess incendiary arrows does technically affect both your crossbows and your longbows, but take a look at this. Just when you thought things were looking good, it starts to look really good for B. All night raid coming in on that backside. Looking to pick up a couple of villages here. We'll continue to hit them. This is really painful right now. This is where you need to make sure that you've got those full walls up, right? Like, at 30 minutes through the game, there's no excuse, especially playing against a French player. These walls just need to be up. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with these constant leaks coming through, and you're not a plumber. It's not your job to fix these leaks. It's your job to prevent them from happening. That's why you employ a plumber.
Looks like DeMu is going to break out. He's going to try and push this one. He's deprived of gold, and with trade being set up for B, longevity will be on the side of B. That's a lot of cavalry he's facing in. There is not a single spearman, and as you mentioned, a distinct lack of the elite upgrades as well for DeMu's side. He does have a huge numbers advantage though. It's essentially 2-1, and that might actually be his ticket back into this game. Yeah,
this is true. He does have a good number advantage. The one thing to note though is that the army value is so much higher for B than DeMu, and I'm trying to work out where it is, right? Because like your knights are 3 times the cost. So you look at that. True, hand cannoneers, they are also expensive. Yeah, true. Okay. That makes sense. Hand cannoneers plus knights. I mean, can you name a more gold-heavy composition? I don't think there is one. Maybe like janissaries and knights. There you go.
Now, that is a scary army. That's a lot of spears, a lot of longbows, and as much as DeMu doesn't have gold, once he gets the upgrades, he doesn't even need that much. He can play into the spears and the longbows for quite a time, and those bad boys with the flaming arrows, with the volley upgrade as well, now with elite, they are a threat.
Yeah, that becomes a bit of an issue, right? Because you get a really good bonus on incendiaries because it's a percentage of the damage that you do. So, like as an example, the Jukunu get an extra 2 damage from it. The longbows, I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but I would imagine it's probably between 3 and 4. Probably closer to 3 though. As long as they've got that elite upgrade and they've got +3, and we see that +3 ranged attack has come through. He's got that elite upgrade, so it's a total of 14 damage that these guys are pumping out. So it's actually not that much. It's only a +2 bonus that they get.
200 population in for both players, actually. Now, there are a lot of things to discuss over here because it looks like players are setting into trenches, but before that, DeMu is breaking out. He has only 3 battering rams, but he needs to start gaining some map control. B's got the trade, and it looks like he's going to take this fight right here.
Yeah, really nice fight here. He's got the spears on the front. It looks like we've got the elite upgrades through for those spears, so it will be a decent... Actually, no, they look better. Oh, they got golden hats on, right? I think I see golden hats coming through. Yeah, indeed. Elite spearmen have come through now. Still needed his +2s and +3s, but a decent fight. The trouble that he's got is that B is intentionally sitting on 149 economic units. That is a huge amount of economic units, and he's just sucking up all the resources from the map right now. Obviously, he's making his own resources in the form of trade, but he's still just sucking them up, vacuuming them up, hoovering them up, and once you take them, they're gone forever, or at least gone forever into B's bank account. So even though DeMu is technically fighting and holding on, whether he's going to be able to keep up with B is another question.
Yeah, this is 2 very different approaches we have here. DeMu is taking extremely cost-effective fights. You see the destroyed value just being so much better for him. But B is unfazed by that because B's got a substantially larger eco, and he's willing to take suboptimal engagements and just play into the attrition factor.
Yeah, I think attrition's going to be a big part of this, and we can see that, you know, already DeMu is falling victim to that attrition, right? Like the gold has been exhausted completely. He's now just sitting on the basic gold that you get when you've got a whole bunch of farms and you've got enclosures. That's essentially it. So if he makes more farms, he can get a little bit more gold, but it's not a huge amount. Just teeing off, doing some decent work there against the hand cannoneers, and DeMu holding on with what little he's got left. But we do see the slow trickle in of gold isn't terrible. It's only 400 gold a minute, which is about what, 5 relics or so. Still decent.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. Problem is that he's facing 2k gold. I guess the silver lining is that B's starting to struggle with wood, and that's going to make it more difficult for him, at least for the time being, to add siege weapons or even horsemen. He's got 32 horsemen queued up, so he's fine for the time being, but he needs to fix that wood income soon.
Yeah, wood income's gonna be a little bit troublesome, we can see now. But plenty of upgrades coming through. I like that he's going for the mangonel crossbars upgrade. get himself a little bit more, I think it's attack speed on these mangonels. So a bit of a cheeky upgrade right there. But additional keep now coming down on the south side. Remember that 2 of these sacred sites are held. But look at the arrows coming out. So much damage being done on that. I think he's used the extra attack speed ability that you get as well. So he is a man who is on a mission, taking out a lot of villagers in that space. But of course, are you really doing damage to a person who's got 150 villagers and you take out 10 of their vills? Like, to be honest, you're just kind of helping them, if anything.
True. Those villagers got replaced by horsemen and hand cannoneers, or traders even. And you see, B is more than fine. He's at 200 population. DeMu's down to 170. He's losing that keep. Needs to be careful pushing with the longbows here. Mangonel is at the back line. He's yet to focus down the longbows with that. Looks like, for the time being, DeMu is going to fall back, but B is he's on a pursuit. He's going to get rid of the rams, and he could actually jump on those longbows now.
Yeah, he's got pretty decent numbers here. You got to be so careful when you're fighting against the French player, because you can't underestimate their numbers. It might not look like they've got a lot, but then the Royal Knights aren't dying. They're like, why aren't you guys dying? It's because they've got that critical number that they need. So now that push through is going to start coming in. DeMu down about 5k points on score. Starting to add in hand cannoneers at this point, a very gold-heavy unit. Trying his best to keep himself alive in this game as the stone walls on the south side do get denied any further.
Knights will try to get in once again. There is a layer of palisades to keep them at bay, at least for the time being. Plus there's the White Tower as well. A lot of cavalry will fall victim to those longbows. And the spearmen, of course. It's a lot of damage done. But again, B, to a certain extent, is unfazed by this. He's got 46 horsemen in queue. He's struggling a bit with gold, actually, despite the fact that he has all the trade going.
Yeah, I mean, gold's always one of those things. Well, I'll hold your horses right now. He's up to 2k gold a minute. It'll go up a little bit more, 2.3k or 2.4k. It's not a struggle anymore. But I just remember that gold that is now that you're seeing as the income, it's expressing that value as a value over a 1 minute period, when in reality that's a 3 minute period of value, and the number should be much lower than that.
Yeah, obviously a big batch of gold just came in. Horsemen now moving into the middle. DeMu is desperate for that wood, but he's gonna have to fall back from here. There's the Berkshire to provide some shelter, but this is a great position for B to be, and also gets the castle up. Mangonel misses the shot on the big clump of units.
Yeah, big shots coming through right now. Attempting his best to hold on. I'm loving the Berkshire, though. The Berkshire just holding on with such range. It's a crazy amount of range that it's got. But one of the things that is going to happen to the army of DeMu is that it reaches this point where you're at population capacity right now. 200 out of 200. It looks really good. Except for the fact that it's spearmen and longbowmen. 2 of the cheapest units in the game. So you're up against an army on the other side, which is just expensive units. Hand cannoneers, knights, siege. Granted, there's a couple of horsemen in the mix as well. But for the most part, a very expensive unit composition. Very effective for their population. And even though the numbers look good here for DeMu, B's still going to be able to hold on. Mango shot, mango shot, mango shot. Big shot on the back line. Revoltaquin coming out as well here. What's a Revoltaquin for? I guess dealing with the spears, maybe? That could be it. You can see that the archers are just eating alive this back line. We've got ourselves a little bit of a game on our hands right now. DeMu's still holding on. But my fear is that even if we do get to that post-Imperial stage, the French are so strong in post-Imperial.
I think the key thing here is that B's got that trade going for him, which means that he can play this game forever. He can play for 5 hours. By the way, DeMu's base is wide open, so it's a matter of a decision for B to just send in 20 knights and hit the eco. And if this game goes super long, we could even see just a wonder from B. He can even get the stone he needs pretty easily. So for DeMu, he needs to be the one pushing this, and that's exactly the plan. He's going up with the rams. He's got a lot of longbows, and don't sleep on those guys. They got the volley, plus they have the network of citadels. That's an insane rate of fire with the 2 bonuses combined.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It does start to stack up really quickly. But now continuing to push through. Look at the battering rams coming out. DeMu playing, it's a composition that you've seen in the feudal age time and time again. Spearmen, men-at-arms, longbowmen. Rams. All of these units, where do you see them? You see them in the feudal age. He's got a couple of crossbows, or he's got one crossbow out on the field at the moment. That barely counts. He's fighting this game with a feudal composition, and it's impressive to watch. All right, well, siege numbers still holding on for B at the moment. Remember, he's got a lot of resources in the bank. We're talking about 11,000 food, 4,000 wood, 1,700 gold. So definitely a little bit to be desired on the gold front, but he has pretty decent control of the gold. Can we have a look and check in on the map? We might do it after this fight. Well, if this fight ever ends, we might check in on those other golds. I want to see exactly where they are and where DeMu should be looking to try and turn his attention, because he's fighting quite a lot onto this central location. Yeah, so this gold vein's only got 2.6k left in it, so I think that's all the gold that's left on the map. We're at 40 minutes and we've already exhausted all the gold. That's kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah, more importantly, I think we're close to depleting all the wood. This is why DeMu is fighting here. He's desperate for wood. He has a bunch of villagers here just standing idle, waiting for that keep to be destroyed so he can access the wood. You see, Vodka is showing us that there's little wood left for him to work with. There's a keep denying this one on the right side, and he doesn't really need the gold for the composition he's going for, but boy oh boy does he need wood. He needs the siege, he needs the longbows, and he's running short of it right now.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit dicey for him. 250, 290 wood in the bank. Only that 570 wood per minute, and less than 100 gold. It's starting to get scary because he's bleeding units, and you can see B has managed to hold on this long. He's stacking up plenty of resources. I think that might be the game. He's just got way too many units here at this point. He should be easily able to push in under this Berkshire because it is about to go down. A lot of damage is being done, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much GG at this point because DeMu is almost certainly out of resources as the Berkshire does go down.
Yeah, no wood, no gold. He has one more fight in him, but he's not even going to take it. DeMu falls to B over here. It's a matter of attrition. It's a matter of longevity. B has set himself up so well for this late game, and DeMu just had no answer to that.
Yeah, that was exactly it. So a long game there, a slog fest coming out. Interesting to see B hit the castle age so early. Normally, he's a big fan of fighting it in the feudal. Look at that villager count. I think it just goes down to all of those early raids. I think overall, a really well played game by DeMu. Unfortunately, B, at the end of the day, did a lot of damage with those raids and was able to take map control as a result, and it meant that that the DeMu was kind of stuck behind for the rest of it.
And with that, B takes the lead. You see, military count actually favored DeMu for essentially the entire game, but when it comes to the army value, those premium units, not just the knights, not just the horsemen over the longbows and the hand cannoneers, of course, also the mangonels, something that kept those longbows at bay for quite a long time.
Yeah, that's true. I think mixing in a little bit more siege could have helped DeMu earlier. Maybe looking for that earlier spring or that earlier mangonel definitely could have helped against the archer mass that was there. But for the most part, I think he played it pretty solidly. B's obviously a very good French player and demonstrated a solid defense there in the mid game.
With that, we have game one done. We'll take a look at the home maps in a brief moment to see how things are going. So here we are. Looks like game number 2 will be on the home map of DeMu here. He chooses Highview, somewhat surprisingly. This is not a map that he has played a lot as his home map. In fact, for most of the tournament, his go-to map was Hill and Dale. But he does have Rus over here, which is probably the strongest civilization of all on this map. As a response, B is bringing out the Chinese.
Yeah. I suspected this would be the case. I mean, you don't have a lot of options, right? Like Lipany, Abbasid, that's an easy one. I mean, technically, you could have gone Chinese on Lipany because you're going to be playing against the Delhi, and that's a good matchup for you. But I mean, at this point, China against Rus is also a pretty decent matchup as well. It's a bit of a tough one, right? There's a nice little timing that the Rus can hit here, but Chinese defense is pretty good. I kind of like this. How do you feel about this match?
I love the late game potential for the Chinese in B's hands, and I love the flexibility. We have seen Rus being used so many times here, not so much for the Chinese. So in a way, there is a bit of an element of surprise available for B, and he loves to use this civilization. I'm curious how he's going to approach this, But then again, don't discount the Rus, the Kremlin Gremlins, the militias, the Knights, or the opportunity to go for a straight-up feudal push with archers. So many options are available here for the Rus, and I personally like the Rus slightly better than the Chinese here, but I definitely see what B could play towards having the Chinese.
Yeah. I'm suspecting you know what? It's B. There's a part of me that thinks he's just going to go full Zhuge.
Could be.
Like he's done it before. It's we've seen him do it against the Rus as well. What if he just goes 1 TC full Zhuge? That's 100% a possibility. That is, I guess that will create an interesting game. That is for sure. I'm confident that DeMu. I guess DeMu's always got a bit more of a greedy Rus style. That's what I think about when I think of DeMu's Rus. I remember watching that game where I think he went 3 TC Horse Archer, and just being so impressed. It's like, I can't believe this guy's making this many TCs and he's getting away with it. This is kind of wild. Yeah, Rus. I guess they're becoming a bit more of a boomy civ, aren't they?
To a certain extent, yes. You have that flexibility. We talked about this with the militias. At any given moment, you can pop them all out for just an emergency defense, or at any given moment, you can turn a slight military advantage into something massive when it comes to momentum, just by popping out 15, 20 militias that you had saved up in your Kremlin. And this flexibility allows you to play very greedy, because you will have an emergency response to what your opponent is doing.
All right, well, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. We are going to be diving into the game shortly. Keep in mind that we do have another set after this one. So we do have Beastie going up against Lucifron. So this is going to be game number 2. So even if this one falls here, we've still got more content coming up for you. So do not go anywhere. It's time for us to get into game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Elite Classic. We're on Highview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2. We're here watching B fighting up against DeMu. Currently, the score is 1-0 in favor of B. He's on the Chinese this game, playing up against DeMu on the Rus. And boy, oh boy, it's going to be a tough one. Playing the Rus on what used to be their home map. Probably not anymore. I mean, there's a lot of good maps now for the Rus when you think about, like, Rus strong maps. In the current map pool, it's pretty much everything, right? Like, there's 5 or 6 maps that are just insanely good for the Rus. But Highview is, like, old faithful.
Yeah, but for real, are there any maps that are bad for the Rus at this point? That's the question.
You know when, like, your worst map is Dry Arabia? Like, you're doing all right, aren't you?
That's true. That's very true. And we haven't even had a lot of hybrid maps in this tournament. And historically, Rus dominate those hybrid maps. So, yeah, it's a very powerful civilization. And a lot comes down to just that flexibility that you have with A, the militias, and B, the lumberjacking bonus.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the lumberjacking bonus is quite big. But yeah, I think the militias have definitely added a lot of flexibility in the way that the Rus can play. In that you're very capable of going for those early attacks if you want to, but also defending against early attacks, which means that you're able to boom a lot more safely.
Yeah, we'll obviously have to take a look at the bounty that DeMu is able to gather. So far, so good. He's at 215 gold, up to 250. He's getting close to the position, especially once he starts taking down the deer close to his base. He's getting close to the position where he can start thinking about popping that wheelbarrow. Naturally, you only do that once you're certain that you have the gold for wheelbarrow and feudal age together. But given the pace at which he's collecting the bounty, I would say he's going to have a decent shot at getting the gold he needs for both feudal and wheelbarrow.
Yeah, there's always the option to cancel wheelbarrow as well. I think people forget that. So I always like to pick it up just nice and early, and then, you know, oh, things aren't going too well on my bounty. I think I might cancel it. I don't think I'm going to hit it, but yeah, as you can see, he's pretty damn close to hitting that bounty. 335 at the moment. That'll take him up to 345, and he is 5 gold short of a party. It's going to be 350. 150 for the wheelbarrow, 200 for the age up, and of course, you always like a little bit left over, just so you can, you know, get something else with it.
All right,
right, well.
Kremlin coming in. No surprise in the location. Now, one thing to pay attention to is that, first of all, the eastern flank for DeMu is very much open, but most of his gold is also situated on that side. There is a backup gold to the far west, but if he loses the east, he's going to struggle for gold long term.
Yeah, this is a really interesting point, right? Like, yeah, taking a look at the way that the base is laid out, if you put your pressure on from that angle, there's a really good chance you just stall out everything. Because if he wants additional gold, he's going to have to head towards that center of the map. Now, there is another close-ish gold on the top side, but it seems relatively easy to shut down. You throw one wooden fortress in there, get a sprinkled emplacement. No one's touching that. All right, well, let's check in right now. We'll check in with DeMu. We might switch over and have a look at what his bounty is currently sitting at. I'm going to estimate somewhere in the region of about 300-ish, maybe 310, 320.
350.
All right, let's have a look.
Whoa. It's actually surprising.
255. Yeah, I thought it was going to be much better than that. Wow.
Yeah,
How is it so low? He's only just hit the 250 threshold.
Yeah, like, he has gotten Wheelbarrow, he's up to Feudal Agent, he had 84 gold banked as well. That's the thing I based my math on. Now, that probably means that the hunting cabin that he has is probably pretty good. Around 30 gold per minute-ish. We can actually take a look. I don't think it's going to hurt. 25, yeah.
Yeah, so a pretty decent hunting cabin there, giving him plenty of resources in this early game, but we start to see B moving out. Barbican going to be going down here. Look at the food sources he's got out here as well. So this Barbican protects the stone, protects the gold, protects the deer, protects the secondary gold, also protects the berries. He's got a relic and a sacred site. This is hitting a lot of stuff out here.
I love it. It's going to protect that back line, so now you can focus all your attention on either being aggressive or just the front of your base. And when you play against the Roost, that's always a thing, because you always will have those militias popping out, harassing your villagers. There will be knights coming in as well. So having that Barbican secure so much space, so many resources, is immense value for that landmark.
Yeah, both civs having that that defensive landmark bonus here. I guess the key difference here is that DeMu's only going to be able to pick up a gold and a berries compared to what B's picking up, where he seems like he's getting a bit of a better deal over there. All right, well, it looks like we're going to have that second TC coming out now for B as well on the Chinese. No real surprises there. Obviously, one of the most popular strategies that you see with the Chinese is going into that second town center. I did have a bit of a theory that he might be going into mass Jukunu. There's nothing that says you can't go 2 TC and then go into mass Jukunu.
You most certainly can. In fact, I think that's a more viable way. We see the rapid build-up of the Chukunu. We have seen that in previous sets as well. You take a look at, let's say, Marine Lord versus Recon, or frankly any other set. Getting that second TC squeezed in will allow longevity for B, and it will make his Chukunu play, if he indeed goes for that, something that's a lot more viable long-term, and it's not going to be like pretty much all-in style build. It's going to be more like, okay, I'm playing aggressive, but I have a strong enough economy to justify being aggressive.
Yeah. I'm curious to see whether he goes for it, because as you mentioned, it's still a really solid opening. 2 TC into Jukunu is like my go-to when I'm playing team games. It's also really good in some matchups, so it's really good against the Abbasid dynasty as an example. Very, very good over there because you can get to that 2 TC and then start putting on the pressure. But it looks like DeMu is going to be going for a third TC in this game. We don't see him adapting in with the Marine Lord, the way that Marine Lord plays. So Marine Lord goes for his eco upgrades first, and then goes second TC, and then goes third TC, and then goes age up. He's a very greedy player, but DeMu skipping on the upgrades for the moment.
You know, looking at DeMu,
right.
This is not just going to be a 2 TC build. There's a third one coming up, and the TC spot he's choosing is lovely. Right on the hunt, right on the board, in the corner. You couldn't ask for more than that.
It's a pretty damn good spot considering he's got the first one down on a really nice safe hunt. So yeah, it's definitely pretty good. But take a look at the upgrades that we see coming through for B at the moment, going into survival techniques, double broadaxe, and wheelbarrow. So it tells you a little bit about his intention. And the 5 villages on gold, it can mean a couple of things with the Chinese. Either I just want my upgrades. It can also mean I'm going to start making Chukunu. It can also mean I'm going to age up. There's a lot of different things that 5 vils on gold can mean for China. So it really just comes down to what exactly they want to do with that gold.
Yeah, right now it's upgrades. You got wheelbarrow, you got double broad axe, survival techniques just finished. I do anticipate the food upgrade to come in very soon. And then, obviously, you have the Chinese, so you always have the chance to supervise the blacksmith or whatever production buildings. So this could quickly shift into a mass production of Chukonu, for instance, get the upgrades quickly with the blacksmith using the supervise, and then just surprise DeMu. For now, it seems like both players will be playing a passive game. Both players will be just kind of scouting out what the opponent is doing, bit of a poking around with 1 spearman and 2 militias on each side, but you see both players are heavily prioritizing eco upgrades, understanding that the opponent likely won't really punish them for this.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember that both of these guys are scouting out their enemies, so they know what's coming, they know what isn't coming. And at the moment, you know, you've got the 2 militia that are out. Ooh, 2 militia, watch out. And then it's like, oh, 1 spearman, oh, yeah. So, yeah, don't be surprised to see a lot of greed coming out here. And we can see on the side of B, he's heading into a pretty heavy amount at this stage of upgrades. Also going to be going for specialized pick and looking to pick up Imperial examination. So really going heavy on these upgrades early on. I guess one thing to note that he is building up a bit of a surplus of wood at the moment. So maybe that's part of the farm transition, but just keeping it slow for the moment.
Yeah, looking at DeMu, he's stacking up resources, so does B. Looks like both players will get to Castle Age at pretty much the same time, which also raises an interesting question. If you're DeMu, do you go for the Abbey and say, okay, it's comparable Castle Age times, I just want to get as many warrior monks out as I can as quickly as possible, just try to secure the majority of the relics, or are you content going for the high trade house, kind of keeping longevity in front of your eyes, but potentially missing out on some of the relics, because I can assure you that B is going to drop a monastery the moment he hits Castle Age.
I think you go high trade house, right? Do you have a good spot for it? I think that's the next question. If you've got a good spot, then definitely you throw it down.
Yes and no.
There seems to be, yeah, there's a decent spot up here, yeah. Not the best, but it still looks like the coverage is, you know, it's relatively good. You can't go too greedy with it, but I think the reality is like you're going to always be able to get at least 3 relics, or at least you should get at least 3 relics here. And going for the high trade house, it just guarantees that you've got a higher rate of income. Now, granted, your enemy's also got a higher rate of income because instead of you getting 5 relics, you only get 3, and you give over 160 gold a minute to them. So there's that to consider, but it feels good, right? Like, it feels good having that high trade house.
Yeah, it's going to be a permanent source of gold trickle when it comes to, of course, the gold that's coming from it. But also, let's not forget that it's a permanent source of food as well. It's going to make your life easier when you have to start transitioning farms, that you do have a bunch of backup food in form of deers that you can work with. It's also going to guarantee a bit of a trickle of gold long term, of course, because you will always get the 10 gold you get for killing the deer. It's going to guarantee that you get the 500 bounty, which means that you unlock the highest tier of the hunting cabin bonuses. These things, as you said, might not be things that decide games, but these are nice little bonuses to think about.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We could see 90 gold a minute coming through. Not the best, definitely. I've seen a couple of salami high trade houses that are slightly better than that. I'm not thinking about any high trade house in particular. 600 gold a minute. I'm looking at you. So it could have been better, but I guess at the end of the day, I mean, it's still going to be that gold coming through. And as you mentioned, it is always going to be that little bit of extra safe food as well. But I guess the other thing to keep in mind is he's only on tier 2 bounty. He's not quite yet on tier 3, so that'll go up with tier 3. Tier 3 will probably move that somewhere in the region of about, 130, 140 gold, somewhere around that. So it's not too bad. But I guess at this point, though, technically they're scaling about neck and neck with each other, even though I think DeMu is slightly ahead on scaling numbers.
Well, you say that, but I think the stables are being supervised by B. He has had a lot of knights come out very quickly, so I have a feeling that he's been supervising the stables for some time. Looks like he shifted away with one of the IOs just now, but that means that he already has 7 knights on the field. On the other side, DeMu is just now getting up the horse archers, but he's starting to lose villagers here on the expansion TC. Not enough space for all of them. And not only did he lose 3 villagers, now he's got 10 of his food vills idle.
A lot of idle vills now, but the numbers continue to climb for B. A couple of vills taken out as well. It's going to continue climbing right now. I think he's taking them out on that bottom side. Indeed he is. Look at the knights that are down there just sieging down the town center. Got plenty of units out. Look at the Lancer numbers. I love this opening as well from B. You mentioned the fact that he was supervising the stables. Just pumping out units like crazy at this point. This is always great to see. He's got a huge economy behind this. All the tier 1 upgrades. He's got his Imperial examinations. He's got his 4 Imperial officials. The double TC Song Dynasty. Everything is going perfectly right now for B. And that's pretty important because it's imperative that he wins this game against them.
Lancer is doing a good job over here. As long as you only have a handful of horse archers, those Lancers can do a ton of damage to them. They close the distance, they pack a big punch, and those horse archers can be ground down to low levels. You see these isolated groups of horse archers, 1 horse archer, 2 horse archers, they are prime targets for those Lancers.
All right, well, the numbers continue to build here. He's going to start throwing in his own archers, and we also see a nest of bees coming out, but looking for more advanced upgrades as well. Military Academy going to be coming now in for B as well. Quite early for these upgrades, around the 14-minute mark to get that. But we also see that he's picked up his +2s now as well. So, or at least I thought I saw +2. Maybe I was looking at the +2 wood gathering. Maybe that'll do.
Villagers,
all right, well,
they keep getting picked by the Lancers of B. He's up to 7 villager kills. And it's getting alarming for DeMu. This is actually very reminiscent to the previous game. It started just like that. DeMu falling behind a little bit because of the bonus of the opposing Civ, and then just starting to lose a couple of villagers, and that's what facilitated a 20 villagers lead back then for B. Now he's up by 15, partly because, of course, 2TC Song Dynasty from the Chinese, and partly because of these villager picks.
Yeah, they've been slowly coming in, and you can see him just kind of causing havoc, running around through the base. Now he's trying to get this big mass of horse archers up, and horse archers definitely do well against lancers. The problem is that they're very mobile, and they can just run away. They can always just loop back around, come back in, find another angle, hit a new set of villagers, and at the end of the day, if you kill 1 or 2 lancers, that's okay, but what happens if they kill 5, 6 villagers? That's exactly what's happening here. We're up to 10 villager kills so far now for B.
Behind this, relics have been split between the 2 players, 3 on the side of DeMu, 2 for B. But B also has 2 sacred sites that he has to work with. Looks like now horse archers are coming in. Militias have been popped as well, and if you look at B, on the front line he only has lancers, so those militias will be useful. But behind this, he's building up a huge force of archers, yet to show that to DeMu.
Alright, well, you can see those numbers behind the scenes prepping. Interestingly goes for the archers instead of going for the Jukunu. The unique unit continues pushing forward because they're going to be quite effective against the horse archers. I still prefer the Jukunu against the horse archers. They do a lot more base damage against them and just kind of shred through them. Part of the reason why I love them so much in this matchup. But more upgrades now going to start coming through from B, including herbal medicine. An interesting upgrade. He's going to be looking to go into a heavy amount of monks. Take a look at this. He's up to 2 monks at the moment, going up to a 3rd one as well.
He has tried doing that in the previous game. He had a couple of monks healing the knights from behind. Looks like he's going to try doing something similar too, and I love it. Those horse archers, they will keep kiting away. So B is going to say, look, you kite away, I'll heal back my knights. And now he's actually going to dive on the lumberjacks, getting a lot of villagers once again. He's up to 16 villagers killed.
All right, well, the attack is now coming through. Lancers looking to try and defend against the knights. Imperial official, excuse me, what are you doing, sir? There's no gold up here. Head back to where you came from, my friend. I can assure you right now that there is no tax here. You gotta love those Imperial officials. They are always coming up onto the front lines. They're always looking for a bit of gold.
You cannot evade tax in this world. The IOs will catch you.
That's true. They say death and taxes, and if there's anything that goes together like death and taxes, it's the Imperial officials that'll tell you about it, because that bad boy, he'll collect taxes no matter where it is. It doesn't matter how much death it's going to bring. Speaking of death being brought from the skies right now, the nest of bees rain down on those horse archers, looking to take out the back line and try their best to neuter what little attempt can be made at a defense here by DeMu. And B is really starting to build this push as the second B joins the battle here. Now
DeMu's in
B
trouble.
has got a whole bunch of Bs, and DeMu's really in trouble, isn't he?
He's out of wood, and his lumberjacks are exposed. He's trying to go horse archers, very wood-heavy unit. Now eats a volley from the nest of bees, and if he loses this battle, he's going to lose his access to wood, and he's going to tap out of this one. B just takes the game and the set. What a spectacular set from B, really just a masterclass.
Yeah, it's impressive to see how he managed. It looked very Marine Lord-esque watching B play. Tiny little advantages that he's able to build up over the course of the game eventually, unfold into just a powerhouse. And what's particularly interesting is he didn't even use a single Jugunu in that last game at all. And definitely could have. Jugunu there would have been amazing. But yeah, just avoids it, doesn't need it, and just does it the good old-fashioned way.